Let's quickly dive now to our newspaper review, which is why we always have you here. You know, I already felt like a newspaper review, so let's get straight to our newspaper review, starting off with Daily Trust. All right, now let's take a look at the stories on the front page of Daily Trust. Boldly in front, which is something we spoke about, a couple of days back on Tinubu's appointment. President Tinubu's appointments, presidency's defense backfires, retracts published list. All right. Well, we'll take a look at that. 2 weeks after, FCC Teachers Area Council workers remain on strike right here in the Federal Capital Territory. APC shuts headquarters, has abducted director, dies in captivity. And still on the top right, many fear dead as passengers' boats capsized in Niger State. There's a picture there showing a residential building destroyed by a rainstorm in Apo. And 2024 flood victims still stranded as federal government issues fresh alert. Borno, Jigawa, Adamawa, Zamfara, 26 others at risk in 2025, says the minister, and 1,249 communities in 176 local government areas to be affected. The warning is out. Is alert preparedness? Well, those are the stories we have on the front page of Daily Trust. So do well to grab yourself a copy and keep yourself informed.
So the next daily we have is The Punch. And for today's headline, we have marketers predict cheaper petrol nationwide as Dangote begins Naira sale. It says refinery slashes loading costs to 865 Naira after Naira for crude deal fuel depot prices to fall. At the top of the newspaper, we have federal government alert. 30 states rush to avert flood crisis. And then next we have federal character. Controversy over Tinubu's appointments widens. On the top as well, we have ambassadorial list ready for NAS review after DSS clearance. Down below, at the bottom of the newspaper, we have P-Man false NBC ban on Idris Abdulkarim's anti-Tinubu song, which is on page 29 if you want a little bit of entertainment. Next up, we have police recover 21 AK-47 rifles, rescue 17 kidnapped victims. And lastly, we have truck driver arrested for killing Ogun Poly student.
All right, now let's take a look at Guardian. Let's take a look at Guardian newspaper, boldly there on Guardian. Yakubu laments flawed democracies, hint of exit at ECOWAS parley. All right. Still on Guardian. NERC fines 8 discos 628 million naira for over billion customers. Dangote cuts petrol price to 865 naira as federal government backs naira for crude deal. And still on Guardian, 2027 PDP governors meet SDP, reject merger talks. Rivers, Lagos, 28 orders to experience heavy flooding, says the federal government. Well, those are the stories we have on the front page of Guardian. Do well to grab yourself a copy there and keep yourself informed. Now back to the studio with you, sir. Let's get back to our conversation. Now to the main talk this morning, which is the newspaper review. Ali Ndume came out to, let's start with Daily Trust, came out to say that, the president's appointment is not in line with the federal character, but, it's lip-sided. And the federal government defended it, calling him out, and also saying that it's based on merit, lip-sided appointment. The president defended it and, published the list, retracted it. What's your take on not just this administration, but previous administrations that have carried out appointments? There's a federal character that is meant to say representation for each ethnic group should be duly represented with the appointment. So what do you take of this president's appointment? In fact, each president are coming, their appointments and how they go about it. What's your take on it?
I think the federal character does not make proviso for ethnic groups.
Okay.
Let's be clear on that. We're talking about the states.
The states.
And now, even though it is not constitutional, but we have adopted this Abacha-style geopolitical zones.
Okay.
if you look at the acts of most of the federal agencies, the commissioners, each from 6 commissioners, each from one of the geopolitical zones, maybe plus a chairman and what have you. What is constitutional, I'm not a lawyer, sorry, is the ministerial appointment. Every state shall have at least one. And that has been taken care of. So if you look at it, it is not therefore surprising that if you take the Northwest 7 states, all the governors, all the ministers that may come from there may be Hausa or Fulani, because of the ethnic monolithic nature of that region. Ditto to northeast states of Borno and Yobe. When you see a Kanuri there, it's not surprising because of the nature of the ethnic. Something with the southwest. It is not surprising that you will see all the ministers from the southwest 6 states are Yorubas, or the 5 states of the southeast are Igbos, because of the monolithic nature of their ethnic configuration. And again, I don't know why Aline Deme is making noise now. His APC, to build up the elections, President Tinubu, the then APC candidate Tinubu said that he will build on the achievements, consolidations of President Muhammadu Buhari, the man he succeeded. And Buhari did this. With all due respect, he was the one that introduced cronyism into the system. With all due respect, again, at least the people Tinubu brought are capable and competent based on their CVs. The Buharis were not. I can't remember watching Ali. I'm not defending Tinubu. He had money and what have you to hire whoever to defend him, you understand? And even their defense was very shoddy and what have you. It was surprising that they were rushed into this. At a time we had almost all military, paramilitary, anything related, I'm a journalist, anything related to security. It can be finance, it can be drugs related, it can be air security, it can be, we are all populated by northerners. Majority of them not even competent or qualified to be there. So it is an APC tradition that President Tinubu is now consolidating upon. At least all the people he brought, they have, even if you are doing a competitive bidding, they may likely win because they're capable. And what if you? And appointments of aides are strict discretion of the principal. Yes. You can't impose a chief of staff on Lillian when she becomes governor or... You understand? You have to bring somebody competent that can work with you, that understands you. Indeed. We have situations whereby people are appointed as press secretaries, as chief of staffs, but there is no connect, there is no nexus with the principal. If you are a journalist, you understand that. When you are imposed as a media advisor to a particular principal, one of our senior colleagues was here at the time. Said that in the morning he do all that, he monitors the papers, and the principal said, what are you here for? After 1 month, the man left. He's in the country now. He works here at the time. So you can't impose. And getting to work with somebody you don't know is a problem. We should know, all this. So what Tinubu is doing is in tandem with the APC manifesto as established by President Muhammadu Buhari. We had ministers who said that with 30 Naira at that time you can build a food. Yes. We had a minister of defense who said that Nigerians are cowards. He was a retired general, cowards. That's why we allow kidnappers to come and just take you away. Whereas if that man was going to Kano, he go with more than 10 heavily armed trucks in a bulletproof SUV. So this issue of ethnicity, the Constitution does not make for ethnicity, it makes for regional balance.
All right.
You understand? So whether now our lawmakers, our regional communal warriors, the ACF, the Northern whatever, they were there for 8 years. Let me cite an instance, for instance. There was one instance in one federal agency, civil defense. The man that left was from a northerner. The second in command was a southerner. In a brazen and, in insensitive manner. They couldn't even allow that man to act. But we told them even at that time will come, a northerner will not be at the helm. And when this thing that you are entrenched now is being repeated, you will start crying. And that's the situation we are now.
Indeed.
The president has the right to choose people he deems fit to work with.
All right.
That's it.
All right, that was very insightful. So, as the rainy season is in tow, and most states suffer from flooding, which is very, very devastating, and it keeps repeating and repeating each and every year without anything done to, the case of flooding, which leaves people devastated. So now you've seen flood victims that are still stranded from the floods in 2024, and we are now in 2025, and the rains are here. What do you think about that, and how do you think the governors or the people that are responsible in making sure that their people are okay do the needful?
It's unfortunate, like you mentioned. Flooding has now become a business. It's a disaster. There are disaster merchants, flooding is one of their biggest lucrative business that comes annually. Monies are being, we have at the federal level, we have this emergency stuff, which is replicated at all that existed from the plus the FCT as well as the 774 local government. But the major issues that cause flooding are still left unattended, unfortunately. If you look at the report, particularly in the hinterland, the major is Jigawa and Kogi.
Yes.
Then you have Bayelsa rivers because of the coastline, the sea. That one is understandable.
It overflows, yes.
Exactly, it's understandable. But the major issues are still left unattended. It's a simple issue if they are serious, meaning that municipality authorities must be vigilant, must ensure that the laws are followed. What are those laws? Don't build on riverbanks.
Yes.
Don't build on canals and drainages.
Waterways.
But do we do that? If you go up north, for instance, the cleaners of our people are the people that will bring refuse from their houses and dump it on the gutter or drainage in front of them. Go to Kano, you see people building many houses, multi-million, 200, 300. I saw one and I was aghast. I was embarrassed. But do you know where there is no provision for even drainage in the house? The water from the house is gushing from the gate. I was appalled and embarrassed. What do you spend? Very mighty house. Because I realized that even on the street there are no drainages.
Yes.
When flood comes, what do you expect? So the issue is simple, it has become a business. Some state emergency management officials are not happy with this report. At the federal level, people are not happy with this report because funds will be channeled that are not unaccounted for. And that's it. So it has become a recurring this month. Since 2012, you remember we had one of the most devastating flood. What has changed? Lokoja will still be submerged. And I hope truck drivers carrying our petrol to Kano and Kaduna will not say that the bridge on so that the fuel will. It's just negligence, of the. When you implement this, there are certain people that you have to apply
Pressure and force.
pressure, you know, to make things done. But people are still building underwater with canals and what have you. Refuse remains uncollected. Some capital cities across the country are still smelling. And you say flood will not come, and you say it's from God.
I think it begs on the attitude of the people.
Yeah.
It's like it cuts across. You know that this is a waterway and you build on it. You know you shouldn't dump refuse and you go ahead and do it. So it cuts across from the people to the government constantly taking flood alert as preparedness, and they won't get ready and evacuate the people in time. But quickly now, we've run out of time. But before we go, let's touch a bit on the FCT. We see that bridges are flying everywhere, but we see that FCT teachers and area council workers are still on strike. What do you make of that?
I think over minimum wage, right? I don't know. The federal government has not started implementing that. I think that's the biggest problem. Or have they started?
No, some states have started.
No,
members
the
are
federal
receiving-
government, the architect of the law.
But then if the core members have already started receiving their...
Because of the pressure.
Yeah,
Exactly,
which got worse.
You remember what the federal government did? I didn't know how. Is it 40,000 Naira increment across board? And now they are doing some. You know, the whole thing, you can't even understand. But implementation has not started at the federal level, which FCT is part of.
Yes.
So maybe we can, you know, you have to devise ways of maybe doing what the NYC people did. You understand? And start paying.